What's up, Bills Mafia? This season is going to be a make or break for some of these Buffalo Bills players. But before we get to that, let's get to that intro.
This is PZ Music.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell because I always forget to tell you. Hey, Bills Mafia, man. Today we're going to be talking about some of the Bills players who are on a make or break season for the Buffalo Bills. And there's actually 4 of them that we're going to go over today. And once again, I want to send a special shout out to Bills Wire for writing the article that we're about to go over. And here it is. And they actually, this was actually started off as an NFL article. And I'll start with this, though. There are several players around the NFL facing pressure as they head into the 2023 training camp in a couple weeks. Veterans, new additions, and recently drafted players will feel the competition during camp for their roster spot. The NFL Wire network put together a comprehensive list of a player from each team facing make or break seasons. In a similar light, we started thinking about all the players that are on the Bills. Here are 4 players we plan to track closely in 2023 that are gearing up for a make or break season. All right, first one on the list, wide receiver, Gabe Davis. All right, let's see what they have to say about Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis was mentioned as Touchdown Wire's Bills player to watch this season. Last year, the wide receiver did not live up to expectations as a second receiver across from Stephon Diggs, putting up 48 catches, 836 yards, and 7 touchdowns. While GM Brandon Beane pointed to an early season ankle injury slowing Davis down last year, the wide receiver is setting high expectations for himself as he enters the final year of his rookie contract in 2023. CBS Sports have also labeled him as the Bills' X Factor this season. It's now or never for Gabe Davis in Buffalo. Listen, I agree. I agree somewhat with that. And it's also a contract year, right? So it's a contract year, very important year for Gabe Davis, regardless if he re-signs with the Buffalo Bills or not, because he wants to ball out and show other teams his worth, right? And listen, last year was his first opportunity as the number 2 next to Stephon Diggs. And I personally did not think he played as bad as many people thought he did. He had over 800 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns. Not bad, but the drops is where I have a problem with Gabe Davis. Last year, his drop percentage was extremely high, and you cannot have that as a number 2 receiver in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills also, I believe, were second in the league in drop percentage, and we're first in the league in total yards lost by drops with over 300 yards lost. That is a lot. I think it was like 350. You cannot have that in the NFL. So Gabe Davis this year, he needs to work on his drops, his drop percentage. He need to get that number lower, right? And I believe if he does that, stays healthy, you're looking at a 1,000-yard receiver in Gabe Davis, who will go out and earn a contract probably somewhere else unless Brandon Beane truly believes in Gabe Davis moving forward, on this, with this team on this offense. I still am a believer in Gabe Davis. I still believe he can be a quality number 2 receiver in the NFL. I know a lot of you guys disagree. You think he's a 3. And the reason why you think he's a 3 is because you keep going back to that Chiefs game where at that year he was a number 3 behind Emmanuel Sanders, who was our number 2 that year. And you guys only remember the great game that he had versus the Chiefs. But if you really go back, since Gabe Davis was a rookie, he's outperformed his 4th round draft selection. He made some unbelievable catches against the Colts in the playoffs in 2020. He made some unbelievable catches as a rookie. He made some unbelievable catches in 2021. Obviously, you guys know the Chiefs game. He had some really good games last year as well. But once again, we go back to the drops, right? That's the one thing. If he cleans up, I think Bills Mafia will reconsider their opinion when it comes to Gabe Davis. Because listen, man, 6'2" receiver. He is right now our deep threat. Now, will that change this season with the addition of Hardy and Sherfield, who are both, electric with speed, right? Both speed burners. Probably that could change a little bit. He may not be that go-to deep guy anymore, but he's going to be the number 2 receiver entering the 2023 season. There is no doubt about that. And listen, I know that a lot, he knows a lot is riding on this year, especially when it comes to money and his contract, right? So you're going to see the best of Gabe Davis, in my opinion, this season. And the real question is, if we see the best out of him, will Brandon Beane pay up, or will Brandon Beane let him walk and find a receiver in the draft? That's the biggest question, really, that we'll have going into next offseason. But for this season, yeah, I do agree. It is a make or break year, because if Gabe Davis, continues to struggle with catching the ball, drop percentage is still high, he's going to lose some money, in free agency. So teams do look at that. They're going to understand that he has a problem with that. And that could cost them millions. So Gabe Davis, I'm sure, is well aware of that. And I got to tell you as well, Gabe Davis works his ass off in the offseason with his trainer down in Florida. So believe it when I tell you, he is always ready when training camp hits, and when the regular season hits, he's ready to go. It was just unfortunate last year that he got injured, in practice. I believe that was week 2 after the Tennessee game. He twisted his ankle. It was a high ankle sprain. And I believe that, that just like Brandon Beane said, I also believe that affected him moving forward in the season, mentally and physically. So this year, going in 100% healthy, and if he can stay healthy, he's a 1,000-yard receiver, in my opinion, and he will surprise a lot of the doubters, in Bills Mafia. So let's get to the next player on this list, guys. All right, here we go. So the next player on this list is defensive edge, AJ Epinesa. So the talented edge rusher had his best season in a Bills jersey last year with 13 tackles, 7 for loss, 6.5 sacks, providing key depth behind Gregory Rousseau entering a contract year. He will need to continue to produce, especially with Von Miller potentially out at the start of the season. It's unlikely that it reverts back to the production levels he did at the start of his Bills career. And with an uptick in snaps he has been given throughout his career, we should expect to see a true breakout season. The potential contributions, I can't speak, of Boogie Basham and other depth options will also factor into Epinesa's future in Buffalo. Listen, man, I got to say, I think AJ Epinesa and Boogie Basham are both going to be on the bubble. Unless they could really show out in training camp and in preseason, we have a full room right now at edge. We got players like Shaq Lawson, who had a very good season last year when he returned for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously you got Leonard Floyd, who's definitely making the team. Obviously, Von Miller will be coming back. Gregory Rousseau is only getting better, and he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And then you got Boogie Basham and AJ Epinesa. There is another guy that I'm drawing a brain fart here on. I wish I could remember his name, but it's not going to be an easy out. Somebody's going to have to go. If I was a guessing man, I think it's Boogie Basham more. That would probably be the one that we could see being cut or traded. I think if AJ or Boogie goes, it's not going to be a cut. I believe Bean is going to get something for one of those players. They are both second-round picks, and I think he can get something out of them rather than nothing when they just waive them. Because they will get picked up. Somebody will take a chance on a second-rounder pick, a young player. But right now, if I was a guessing man, I think Boogie has, really is probably the odd man out at this point, because AJ did have sort of a bounce back year last year with 6.5 sacks. It still wasn't impressive. When Von Miller went out, I felt like AJ's game really dropped. He didn't really show. He didn't step in and do anything that wowed me. I thought Shaq Lawson stepped in and did a way better job than AJ Epinesa. So we shall see how this goes. This is going to be good competition. Now, listen, Shaq Lawson isn't guaranteed also. He could also be on that bubble for making the team as well. I thought he would be on the bubble last year, but Shaq Lawson proved that he could play some serious football when needed. When his number is called, he usually answers. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting camp. But AJ Epinesa, yeah, I agree. Make or break season. Look who's next on the board here. Edge, DE, Boogie Basham, guy I was just talking about. Let's see what they have to say about Boogie Basham. So Basham will be looking to leapfrog Epinesa on the depth chart and share more snaps on the field during the regular season. Entering his third year, Basham will hope to start strong and keep the momentum throughout the season. The edge rusher played double the snaps from his first to second season, but finished with fewer sacks and struggled to find consistency on the defensive line. There are cap space implications if the Bills front office end his rookie contract early. So the edge rusher has been working with Miller during the offseason to hopefully help him make a bigger impact this year. Listen, man, I didn't like the pick when they picked him in the second round right after Gregory Rousseau. I thought that was a silly thing to do at the time. I still stand by that. There was no need to draft back-to-back edge rushers there. I was trying to make sense of it at the time. Considering we had an older edge, at that time, Jerry Hughes was still on the team. But listen, there was no reason. And I almost felt like they drafted Boogie Basham because he was more pro-ready at that time than Gregory Rousseau. Maybe they even thought that Boogie Basham would start over Rousseau because Rousseau was so raw. But quickly, the Buffalo Bills learned that Rousseau was just a different kind of animal. And they pretty much had no choice but to start Gregory Rousseau over Basham. And Basham has just been a non-factor. I'm going to be real with you. He's shown some flashes at times, but nothing to write home about. I feel like, once again, it's a player that the Bills have drafted, and there's been a few that have just been a non-factor. And at this point, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. We have only 53 guys to be on this roster. We finally have a full room on the defensive line that has a lot of promising players and talented players. And I just think Boogie is probably the odd man out. I would hope that Bean could get something in return, and I think he can. Boogie Basham still is a second-round pick. So, we'll see. But in order for Boogie to make this team, he would have to have a really, really solid training camp and preseason. Like, he's going to have to beat out Shaq Lawson and AJ Epinesa to prove his worth here in Buffalo. Other than that, I don't see him making the team. I got to be real with you guys. So let's go to the final one on this list, and that is cornerback Kaiir Elam. Okay, I'm a little surprised here for a second here. The talented cornerback didn't have the ideal start of the season, finding himself behind sixth-round Christian Benford for the Bills' 2022 season opener. As the season progressed, Elam filled in well for the injured Dane Jackson, but showed inconsistencies throughout the regular season. The defender impressed when it mattered with an exceptional postseason run. PFF has labeled Elam as a breakout candidate this year. He will have plenty of opportunities to solidify the starting spot ahead of other veterans. And that is it for the article. So here's the deal on Kyer, man. Yes, he did not start the season. Christian Benford started over him, but they kind of were splitting time, to be fair. And I kind of feel like maybe Kyer, maybe he was just a tad slow to learn the defense when he got to Buffalo to transition to more of a zone type of defense, like, rather than a man. But listen, I think now with a second year under, his first year under his belt, Sean McDermott now calling defense, who, by the way, I keep telling you guys, Sean McDermott is a very physical defender. His style is very physical, right? And he brings a lot of pressure to offenses as far as defense goes. He's aggressive, right? And Kyer Elam is an aggressive type corner. He likes to press. He likes to play man up. And I think you will see a little bit more of that than when you did with Frazier. And I hated that soft zone type of defense that Leslie Frazier threw out there for these players. I mean, it worked during the regular season, but when you see that, when you watch the games where we played better offenses with better offensive coordinators or head coaches, we struggled. We struggled against those teams that were, that had a good offense. Let's face the facts here. Look at the Dolphins, for instance. I mean, you talk about, every single game was a close game. Even the playoff game with a third-string quarterback, game came down to the wire when it shouldn't have, right? And listen, the defense needs to play better than that at home against a third-string quarterback. There is no reason for that game to even be close, right? And that goes back on Leslie Frazier and that style of defense where, you're playing a cushiony type defensive zone and you're giving wide receivers, a 5-yard cushion. Good offenses are going to take what you give them. And that's exactly what happened with Miami. It's exactly what happened against Cincinnati, and that's why we got sent home, right? That's why we exited the playoffs mighty early, because of our defensive scheme. I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. But back to Kyer Elam. Kyer Elam, I truly believe, is going to be a number 2 corner. I believe he could beat out Dane Jackson. I believe he'll beat out Christian Benford. I believe you're going to see a way better Kyer Elam in year 2. And this is no knock on Christian Benford either. I think Christian Benford has a lot of talent, but I think Kyer Elam's ceiling is a little bit higher than Benford. But I have a feeling, too, that McDermott's plans for Benford is going to be at safety when Poyer and Hyde move on from Buffalo. That's just my opinion. I think they're going to groom him to play safety. I think Kyer Elam will eventually be the number 1 when Trey moves on from Buffalo. That's how I see it. So we'll see, but I don't think it's a make or break season for Kyer Elam. So I kind of disagree there. He's still a second-year player, sophomore. He's probably still going to have some, mess ups here and there. He's not going to play perfect ball. And you can't expect that, right? But I think you will see an improvement, but I don't think it's a make or break season for Kyer Elam. Like an AJ Epinesa, right? So anyways, guys, who's on your list of make or break players this upcoming season for the Buffalo Bills? I'm curious what you guys think. So Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills, and I am out of here. Peace!